Big grills used to be a statement. Now they are a survival mechanism, mostly for internal combustion engines trying to stay relevant in a world of blank-faced EVs. The DBX 707 isn't ashamed of it. It flaunts its gaping front end like a boxer showing off its jawline before a fight. No filters, no pretense, just a snarling reminder that Aston Martin still builds machines that burn fuel and patience in equal measure. This is the midlife makeover of the Aston Martin DBX. Now you might look at the surface, squint and say, that's not new. And you won't be wrong if you say that, because cosmetically not much has changed. But it has some meaningful upgrades, something that makes it sharper. Aston didn't mess with the numbers, and thank God for that. The 4-litre twin-turbo V8 still throws out 707 metric horses that give the car its name. And there's a bulldozing 900 Newton meters of torque. The engine is mated to the 9-speed AMG transmission, the wet clutch transmission. It's borrowed from the GT63, brilliant transmission. Certainly not as brutal as the 8-speed ZF that we sampled with this engine on the Vantage V8. But it's very effective, especially when you are in the mood to go gunning around corners. It works really well. And when you're not in the mood, when you just want to relax, poke the practical side of the DBX, the gearbox behaves like a typical Mercedes. Domesticated animal, let's put it that way. But to sharpen things up, the revised air suspension with a new control module, retuned anti-roll system, and bushings that don't flinch at lateral roads all mean that this 2.2-ton wedge now changes direction with more intent and less drama. Yes, the DBX 707 still gives you the signature Aston head nod under full throttle, but it's now got the balance to go with that brutality. The cabin of the DBX was never bad, but it was badly behind the curve. Mercedes-Benz software, Mercedes-Benz interface from 2015, pretending to be 2020. That was clearly highlighted, sticking out like a sore thumb, something that the owners of the DBX would certainly not like at this price point. A 10.25-inch touchscreen handles infotainment, running a new Unix-based system. It's complemented by a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. Wireless Apple CarPlay finally comes on board. Proper 3D surround camera is here too. There are physical switches for the AC controls, for the drive modes, a simple rotary dial to move through the drive modes on the fly, and knurled dials for the AC controls. Everything very intuitive. Once you know what where is, you don't really have to take your eyes off the road at all. And even the gear selector is now a gear selector. It's a little bit like the Porsche Shaver, but I think I quite like this. Much better than the button interface that they had previously, which felt more like something that they designed to appeal to the EV generation. This one feels more old school, if I may say so, without being old school. Optional extras like the 1600-watt Bowers & Wilkins sound system, sublime. Though the car is often louder than the music, unless you've got Dua Lipa on full blast. The DBX was always fast, no two ways about that. The new one is fast and composed. The GT mode is still the well-behaved one. This is the one where it soaks in all the bumps, gives you that nice pliant ride. Doesn't feel like a typical stiff, firm Aston Martin. Dial in the sportier modes and the beast comes alive. The throttle response feels more trigger happy. The suspension stiffens its belt. Even the steering feels a lot more responsive. Around the winding roads, there is still a bit of that floaty feel, but it never gets unnerving. It always feels in control. It still launches from 0 to 100 in a ridiculous 3.3 seconds. And yes, it will still wag its tail if you are even remotely cheeky with the throttle. And then there is the brakes. It's bonkers. The way it comes to a halt, it's just crazy. Massive disc brakes, excellent cooling on them, and they just drop the anchor with authority when you really need it. In fact, sometimes it can be so sharp that your co-occupants might start questioning your life choices. Brushing up your memory, these brakes are 40 kilos lighter than the standard DBX's iron rotors, which means better heat management, faster recovery, and one more excuse to drive like a lunatic. Oh, and speaking of the standard DBX, that's gone now. I'll come to that in a bit. Aston hasn't messed with the DBX's silhouette, and rightly so. It's still the most understated looker in the super SUV crowd. There are new wheel designs and an optional carbon pack that add weave to the roof, spoiler, splitter, and even the mirror caps, if that's your thing. It still rides on absurd 23-inch wheels which fill up the arches like a pair of designer sneakers, one size too big. But they do look the part, and surprisingly, they don't completely ruin the ride comfort. If you have driven the older DBX 707, this one feels like it's finally caught up with itself. The original had all the right ingredients: brutal pace, elegance, confidence, but felt like someone forgot to stir. This one is a proper recipe. Still outrageously fast, still charming in its self-restraint, and now more sorted and self-assured. Yes, it's still an SUV that cost north of 4 crore in India. Yes, it still drinks like an aristocrat on a weekend bender. But now it has the cabin, the tech, and the dynamic polish to match its price and its swagger. The standard DBX is gone, and rightly so. I mean, you don't buy an Aston Martin thinking about boot space and practicality. Yes, you buy the DBX for more practicality over a standard Aston Martin sports car, but you get the drift. You're buying the DBX 707 for the rarity. You're buying it for the theatre. You're buying it for a badge that actually means something. So the standard DBX, in my books, didn't have any chance anyway. And in the handful of SUVs in the market which can claim to be super, there are very few which can look this elegant, this charming, this restrained, and still pack 707 horses under the hood. That's something.